Okay. Hello, my name is Minji Jung, and today I'm going to talk about how to apply for graduate schools, especially the private graduate schools. So the application process will be the first you'll have to choose which program you want to apply for. So depending on what interest you have, or you'll apply for different programs. Next, you'll have to plan out the timeline for your application. Um, there's many things that you have to prepare, so you want to have like 6 to 8 months before the deadline, so that you have enough time before um, submitting your application. Next, you'll have to request any transcripts and letter of recommendations. And it depends on what grad school that you want to apply for, but most grad schools will require you to have like 2 to 3 letter of recommendations. And you will have to take any standardized tests that the program requires. So not all programs require you to take standardized tests, but some program will require you to take like GREs, which is test for mathematical skills, verbal skills, and you'll have to write some kind of like essays. That's the GRE tests. And also another common standardized test will be the English proficiency test, especially if your English is not your first language, then they will require you to take the English proficiency tests. And next, you'll have to write your resumes or CV. And in your resumes, you want to put any kind of like awards that you have received, or if you have any professional experiences that's related to your program, or any volunteering experiences that will help you with your program. Or you can also put like any skills that is related to your program, so that it can help you succeed in your application. Um, Next, you'll have to write your statement of purpose or personal statement. So what is statement of purpose? So the statement of purpose is you'll have to put your introduction to your academic skills or your personal backgrounds, any experience and accomplishments that you've made, and any motivation for applying to this particular program, and your academic goals for the program, including like specific topics that you want to experience. And after the pro and also you can put like after the program, what is your future goals, like what will you do in the future after you've received that program. And the personal statement is kind of similar to purpose of statement of purpose. So the personal statement is you'll have to describe your personal background or your academic background and your development in your personal and academic background. Um, and if you have any like obstacles in your life, then you want to put your obstacles in your personal statement and how you overcame that obstacles. Also, you can put like why you are interested in the field that you're applying to. Like what made you interest in that field. And you can like discuss that experience and connect that to your past experiences, and any like academic ambitions that you have, and how that program will help you um, succeed in your academic ambitions, like how that program might help you succeed in your future. And lastly, you'll have to prepare for the interviews. So if you have any friends around you who is already in graduate schools or who have already graduated, in graduate schools, you can ask them around and ask them for the tips so that you can prepare for your interviews. And if you don't have anyone around, then you can just research to Google and make sure to practice any common questions that might appear in the interviews so that you are prepared and ready to go for your interviews. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some examples. So I'm going to talk about how to apply to Harvard Graduate School, which is one of the most popular graduate schools that everyone wants to go in. So for Harvard Graduate School, the fee will be $105, and then the requirements will be, obviously you'll have to fill out the application and pay for application fee. You have to have transcripts. You have to have 3 letters of recommendation for Harvard. And you'll also have to write for statement of purpose, like I talked prior to this slide. You have to have the demonstration of English proficiency. So you'll have to be able to communicate well. And you want to have the writing sample for selective programs. And what writing sample is that it is really similar to your personal statement. So writing sample is to see that you are eligible to go into that program that you want to apply for, that you have selective skill sets, and that you are just eligible to go into the program, so that admission office will see what you wrote and they'll decide, oh, this person is eligible to go into program or not. So it depends on what graduate school that you're applying to, but for Harvard, you have to write 20 to 25 pages of writing sample. And also, lastly, you'll have to take GRE for selective programs. Okay, so another example is applying to MIT Graduate School. So for the MIT Graduate School, the fee will be $75, which is quite less than Harvard Graduate Schools. And the application will open on September 15th and closes on December 15th. And the requirements will be, you have to fill out online application. You have to have statement of objectives. And statement of objectives is really similar to statement of purpose. And you'll have to have 3 letters of recommendations. And you have to have transcripts, and you have to take English proficiency exam for MIT, and you'll have to upload the scores for the exam. And then you'll have to submit the CV or resumes. And then the optional will be GRE test scores. According to 2022 to 2023 academic year, GRE scores were just optional, not required. Okay, and applying to Yale Graduate School. So for Yale Graduate School, the fee will be $105. And then the requirements is that you have to have statement of purpose. And if you have attended any colleges before or any universities before, then you'll have to list all of them in your application. And you also have to upload the unofficial transcripts that for those colleges or universities. And you have to get 3 letters of recommendations. You also have to have resumes or CV. And they do require writing samples for selective programs, but not all. So depends on what program you want to apply for, you'll have to submit the writing sample as well. And also for selective programs, they require you to take standardized tests like GREs, English proficiency tests, or just any standardized test for selective programs. Lastly, the example that I have will be applying to Duke Graduate School. fee will be $95. Requirements is that you will have to have transcripts. And for this university as well, you have to have 3 letters of recommendations. You have to write statement of purpose. You have to submit your resume, submit your GRE scores. And if your English is not your first language, you'll have to submit your English language proficiency test. And you also have to submit GPA and also any supplemental application requirements that includes like writing samples for selective programs or any additional informations that might need it in your specific program. So like I mentioned, for all the examples, all the private graduate applying application for private graduate schools requirements are pretty similar to each other. All of them required, obviously, the transcripts. All of them required 3 letters of recommendations. All of them require resume, and some required English proficiency tests, and some require statement of purpose, and GRE scores were optional for some and required for selected programs. But as you can see, the requirements are very similar with each other. And then the fees is also similar. It ranges from $75, which is the cheapest, and $105, which was the most expensive one. Okay, so who should apply to private graduate school? So anyone who are comfortable with smaller class sizes, then it might be better to go into private graduate school because public graduate schools have larger class sizes. And then since it has smaller class sizes, they'll have a chance to work closely with your advisors. So if you want to work closely with your advisors, or like if you're not outgoing and you're shy to go ask around your advisors and you know be upfront with your advisors in public graduate school, then it might be better to go into private graduate schools. And geographically, private graduate school have students from across the country and around the world compared to public graduate schools. And since it has smaller class sizes, obviously it will have smaller campus and quieter campus. So if you are not, outgoing person, or if you don't like partying, then it might be better to go into private graduate school and focus on your program. And it does have higher graduating percentage compared to public school, statistically. So in public school, they have 45.4% of graduating percentage compared to 51.3% of graduating in private graduate school. So statistically, it has higher graduating percentage. And it may lead to more marketable degree and higher salary, even though this is case by case and depending on how hard you try, it really depends. But statistically, it can have higher salary. You can get higher salaries. And then classes are more discussion based. So if you learn from discussions and by talking with each other, then it might be better to go into private graduate school because class sizes are small and it is more discussion based. Okay, so the downside of applying to private graduate school will be that it is more expensive than public graduate schools. So you may have to pay full amount of your tuition when going into private graduate school because you can't get any government funding. So obviously there are chances that you getting funds when going to private graduate school. It is not it is not impossible to get funds when going to private graduate school, but there may have higher chance to just pay fully amount for your tuition compared to a public graduate school. So it may be more expensive. And also it has fewer degree programs and activities. So if you are like into sports and you like to do like outside activities, then it might be better to go into public graduate schools, because private graduate schools are more focused on academically than other outside activities. So if you are more into like sports or more want to experience outside activities, then it might be better to go into public graduate schools. And these are my references that I used. And yeah, so that was it for today.